So, our next speaker, she is a she. That's a first for our afternoon. That's quite great, I think. Arash spoke about gender equality. She's a macroeconomist with a passion for sustainability. What is this? I don't know. Like, you can explain us maybe.
Yes.
And she will show us how nature can inspire mind shifts. So please, right now,
Which button?
Hanna van Sambeek.
That one.
Yes.
Just click it.
Yes.
There.
Yes.
Hi. I'm a macroeconomist, which means I look at economic ecosystems, you could say. But I also love nature. Growing up in Sweden, we had a lot of it. So what I want to do today is give you just a few examples from nature that might just help inspire you or maybe even strengthen your story. I'll try to keep it short. My first one has to do with how bacteria finds an optimal path to growth through smart swarming. Now, this is a picture of birds murmuring, I know that, but that's because finding a nice picture of bacteria is birds just nicer. And it's the same principle behind it anyway. Anyway, so how do bacteria find the best path? Each individual, when they find a successful path, they pay less attention to the rest of the group and just go their own way. But when they have resistance, they look more towards the group and try to learn from the group and see what are you doing, what's working. And that way, as a group, as a whole, they're moving in the right direction, and it has been shown that that is quite often the most optimal path. So they're doing this through a really simple algorithm, really. By just right here, right now, where is the resistance and where is the success? And that is something that you might be able to use designing your machines. Are you going to use a really complex, resource-intensive prediction model? Or are you going to opt for one that is more low memory, low computing power, that is inspired by how the bacteria does it? Examples can be self-driving cars. How will they find their passengers? Or the best route? Or for a car to decide when it's going to switch from being a mode of transportation to instead being a battery. Which leads me to the next point, adaptability. We know that there are some species, frogs for example, that can change gender if there are too many males or too many females. And this is a good example of how nature responds and adapts to the current situation. A lot of people think that nature is a system in perfect balance. That's not quite right. A healthy ecosystem is actually constantly on the verge of chaos. And what saves it is the adaptability, and the adaptability quite often comes from diversity. And within science, this is called a complex adaptive system, and you'll find them everywhere and on every scale. So the solution that you are going to make, will it be able to evolve with its surroundings? Because I promise you, you will not be able to foresee any and all outcomes and circumstances and anything that can happen. There will be unforeseen things. So can you devise a machine learning algorithm that is able to adapt to the circumstances and maybe even can change its core defining characteristics? And the third example is about cooperation. Did you know that trees communicate with each other? Through mycelium network, a fungal network deep down in the ground. They can share information on this network, but they can also share nutrients. And one of the things that they found is that the big old trees that get a lot of sunshine, they share some of their nutrients with the smaller trees that are shaded by the big trees. They do have a preference for their own offspring, but they share it with all the trees. And they even share it with other species. Why would they do that? They're not getting paid for it. They're not getting anything back, are they? They're doing it more from a perspective of a flow economy and an economy of abundance, not from religion of economic growth, because what they're getting is a healthier neighborhood. They're getting a functional ecosystem. They're getting a bigger chance for their own genes to survive. And when they need help themselves, they tend to get it. For example, trees with leaves produce a lot of energy in the spring and in the summer. But in the autumn, when the leaves are not as efficient anymore, it drops the leaves, because that's the most efficient thing to do. But then it gets energy back from some of the evergreen trees, which it gave energy to in the springtime. So knowing this, how will you design your machines? Will these be machines that use energy 24/7, 365? Will they share some of their energy? Will they cooperate for the good of the ecosystem? Will they be guided by the current economic principles, what Jipe was talking about? Or will it be based on a system where you pay it forward, where you're not wasting resources on useless competition? One example on that for me is looking at Bitcoin mining versus the confirmation process of IOTA, which uses a lot less energy. Is the system of paying it forward? Now, this whole mycelium network, there's a lot more I can say about it, and to me it's really the distributed ledger technology of nature. So if you want to know more about it, feel free to approach me in the break. But for the teams, I will be available as a resource. And if you have a specific problem, I might be able to help you look through nature and see if that has a solution for you. That's it.